Ooh, okay, fellas, a little bit dusty today, but I hope you enjoyed the celebrations. Now it's time for us to get into work in the Champions League. First game away in Spain. We've got a couple of Spaniards in the team, so you guys, Ben, Adri, Raul, I want you to lead the touring party when we do go over there. Make sure everyone gets nice and acclimatized. And let's see if we can get a good result to start off this campaign. Okay, boys? Break. Oh, too loud, too loud. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 52 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and in today's episode we kick off our Champions League with an away trip to Athletic Club, and we do have a second game to bring you guys, but before we get into that we need to catch you guys up on what's happened in between now and the end of yesterday's episode, which if you missed I'll leave a link to that above my head in the top right corner of the Champions League playoff. We got the job done against Sparta Prague, otherwise we would not be in the group stages where we are today. But we do kick off today's episode, which if you are looking forward to it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. But we're starting off with this year's youth intake. We've gone back a little bit in time, back to when this was first coming through into our inbox. It's a bit rubbish, let's be perfectly frank. In fact, I can tell you guys, we have only signed one of these players from this year's youth intake. That is Alon Ingi Eagleson. He is a striker come midfielder, 11 finishing, so does actually look like he might end up being a half decent striker for us there, the 15-year-old who has come through our system, but with only that 3-star potential, he is the best prospect from this year's youth intake. Decent on either foot, but don't have my hopes up for this guy turning out to be too useful for us. It would be nice if he did, but fair to say this year's youth intake is pretty garbage. The only player that we did sign from it, and he hasn't got a great deal of potential. Hopefully next season when we get our next youth intake, it will be a little bit better considering the improvements that we have made to the youth system here at Völsungur with the money that we got from the Europa League last season. But before we get into the first game of today's episode in the Champions League, time to recap a few of the games that we have played since the end of yesterday's episode. The first game that we'll show you guys highlights of is the Mulkabikaran semi-final. Could we make our way through to the final? Well, we got off to a great start here. Nicolussi Caviglia rocking that into the top right corner on the 1 minute mark, and we got a nice early lead here in this semi-final against second division Fjolnir, and then at the 15-minute mark, João Pedro just pokes that one into the bottom right corner, and we had a good 2-0 lead fairly early in this game. And then just before halftime, we did make it free. Isidore with a nice ball towards the far post there, and Arnason tucks that away to make it 3-0 Völsungur at halftime. That was probably enough to see us through, but then with about 10 minutes left in the game, Patrick Nygaard making his way back from that injury that he suffered in Champions League qualifying. He pokes one home there, and we end up winning this game very comfortably 4-0. And we do have a Mulkabikaran final coming up in today's episode. That is going to be the second game of the episode, but that is how we got there with a very convincing 4-0 win over Fjolnir. And in our very next game off the back of that, we did get the chance to wrap up the league title after playing only 15 games away at Leiknir Reykjavik. We got off to a decent start there just before halftime in Biamba with a little bit of help from the crossbar, puts us 1-0 up. Unfortunately, we did concede an equaliser early in the second half there, but late on we were awarded a penalty. João Pedro tucked it away. We remain unbeaten, yet to drop points in the league, and off the back of that, because we won that game, we are the Islandsdeildin champions, the top division champions here in Iceland for the third straight season. And after only 15 games, we still, at that stage, had 7 league games left to play. So it was an absolute cruise, the league season this year. Only 15 games out of the 22 needed. So that is a very, very impressive effort to make sure that we are the champions for the third season in a row. And that does mean that we are going to be entering Champions League qualifying next season, even though we have only just got through Champions League qualifying for this season. So we are in a very good position. That did allow us to rotate players for the next couple of games prior to the first one of today's episode against Athletic in the Champions League, which was a very good situation, but a little bit of a scratchy win that one, but we do not mind. We got the job done, and off the back of that, we do remain unbeaten. A bit of a rotated team put out for those next two games, as you would expect, in two comfy 3-0 wins at home. So looking at the league table, even though it doesn't make too much difference at this stage, we are on 51 points, already champions with 5 games left. We are absolutely crushing it. Will be interesting to see if we can keep that perfect record going for the remainder of the season, albeit we are not going to be focusing on the league quite as much with both the Champions League and the Mulka final coming up in the next little while. But if we go back and have a look at the schedule, first up today, as I mentioned, we've got Athletic Club away to start off the Champions League group stage, and just off the back of that, we do take on second tier Leiknir Reykjavik in that Mulka final. That is a game that we 100% should be winning, and especially because we will be able to back up the first team from that Athletic Club game. So definitely expecting a win from the second game of today's episode. Hopefully we can win that Icelandic Cup for the second time in this save. But Athletic Club away from home is going to be a lot tougher. They currently find themselves 5th in La Liga. You can see their team there, a few familiar names, likes of Inaki Williams. They've got Munian out on the left wing. Their captain is a pretty good team. Simone in goal. Going to be tough for us away from home, but it'll be interesting to see how we do match up against proper Champions League opposition for the first time in this save, the first time that we have made our way into the group stages of the Champions League. And going back and having another look at the group that we did get drawn in yesterday's episode, Atalanta and Porto are the other two teams. It was a pretty kind draw for us. We could have got a lot tougher groups, and it actually is a good chance here in our first game if we can pick up points off the back of Porto and Atalanta drawing in the early kickoff in this group. But before we do get into the first game of today's episode, because we have already won the league, we can actually show you guys the transfer budget for the start of next season. Just something to keep in mind. If we go over to the transfer page, you can see all the transfers that we have got on the go, the young players who are joining us when they are old enough to do so. But we get a £7.25 million transfer budget for this upcoming season, and our wage budget has now gone up so that we do have £63,500 spare, so a fair bit of money for us to work with there. We do, of course, have that optional future fee on Bjorn Boggy Goodness on, our third choice striker. That's about £2.4 million from memory. We could use that on him. Still not 100% sold on there. If we didn't bring Benjamin Rubio in the most recent transfer window, we'd definitely be keeping him, but now not so sure. He is quite a useful player to have, though. Good, talented player who is homegrown in nations. That could be where £2.4 million of that transfer budget does go, albeit that is a lot of money for a third choice striker, but we will see what we do there. So we could, in reality, have just under £5 million to work with, albeit once we adjust the wage budget, that could go back up a little bit. Might be looking for a few more young, talented players to bring into the club with a budget like that, try and improve the squad, depending on how we get on in this upcoming Champions League group stage. But it is time for us to get into our first game of Champions League football proper. We'll come back shortly from San Mamés in Spain, taking on Athletic Club. And of course, we do have TV coverage for these Champions League games. Here is what Athletic Club do look like, playing a 4-4-2 in terms of our lineup. Patrick Nygaard is back on the right wing. Unfortunately, Bjarkason, our usual left winger, is just not quite fit. I think that's because of his arm injury. We could probably start him, but we'll just try Fredrik Larsson out on the left wing. Otherwise, though, it is our first choice 11, and will be interesting to see how we get on here away from home in Spain. 9 minutes gone. It is an early free kick here for Athletic Club. We are yet to fire a shot in this game. They've had 2 so far. It's an interesting highlight there. Sanchez tried to get something on goal. I think it was blocked, but it falls to Inaki Williams, and he gets the first goal against us here in the Champions League group stage. It is not a good start for us. It's in fact Sanchez who heads it back for Williams, so we'll pick up an assist for that, rockets that into the top right corner, and we go 1-0 down early away from home. 19 minutes gone, and we do have a free kick here. Mbiyamba takes it short. Was a little bit cautious about that because some Athletic Club players were still retreating off the back of that foul being given, but unfortunately we do give the ball away not too long off the back of that. We are yet to do anything of note so far in this game, 5 shots to nil, I believe the stat line was before this highlight, and we are already 1 goal down. We are probably going to need to grab our points from home games in this group stage, even though, as I've said a few times now, it was actually a pretty kind draw for us compared to some of the other groups that we could have gone, although there's a good interception from Coutinho. If we could strike back soon, that would be quite nice indeed, might give us a little bit more to hope for, and that's a nice ball there for João Pedro. Tight angle, but the goalkeeper is completely wrong-footed, and we have our first goal of the Champions League group stage in Völsunger's history. Of course, it is João Pedro, and we get it back to 1-1 right on the 20-minute mark. Coutinho slots him in behind the defence there. It was a really tight angle, but the goalkeeper is just completely wrong-footed, flapping his arms around like nobody's business, and we get it back to all square in this first group stage game. 36 minutes gone. Things have definitely improved for us since we got that equaliser to João Pedro, and we continue to try and press on in this game. Nice ball there for Nicolussi Caviglia. Can he square it? Tight angle. It's a bit messy. Somehow Nygaard, that shot is deflected and just balloons up. Athletic Club clear it. Good chance there, but it does remain 1-1. 42 minutes gone. It's a free kick from a very similar position to where Athletic Club got the first goal in this game, but we do deal with that one, albeit they are still in possession just outside the box. We just do get the ball back there though. Larson spinning on a diamond gets out to Leandro Diaz, but it's a little bit sloppy from him, although we do somehow keep possession. Might just be taking a little bit too much time here on the ball, taking on a lot higher opposition quality-wise than we have done for quite some time in this game. It is fair to say as we try and make our way out from the back. We eventually get it up to Swiderski, tries to slot João Pedro through, but not quite enough on that ball. They pump this deep, and that's a bit poor there from Mbuyamba. Great chance here for Monet, and in the end, Mbuyamba produces a great recovery. That was a good chance, got around Serafellini, but Mbuyamba does recover, and we should go into half-time locked up at 1-1, and that is not a bad scoreline. Pretty even game. We struck back after conceding early through João Pedro, and 1-1 away from home. I think we'd take that at the moment, albeit still 45 minutes left to play. We will make a few changes here though, because we've got a few players on poor ratings, both Swiderski and Larson not performing too well in today's game. I think we will try Gavioli in the Mazzala role. He is quite highly rated these days, so he can come on for Swiderski and Ledson to come on for Larson. So 2 subs used at half-time, but in a decent position in an away game here. 1-1 in this opening Champions League group stage game. And up to the 69th minute, it's a nice time for us to make our last substitution with not much happening so far in the second half. Leandro Diaz, another player not performing too well out there on a 6.4 rating. Raul Prada can come on in his home country. That's our last substitution. 20 minutes left, still locked up at 1-1. And shortly off the back of that last substitution is a corner here to Athletic Club. I think it was Nunes who got his head on the end of that, just puts it wide. Still locked up with less than 20 minutes left. 83 minutes gone, a late throw in our favour in this game. We have upped the tempo from low to high just to see if we can pinch a win late in this game. That would be a massive result away from home and would put us top of the group after match week 1, and that would definitely give us a decent chance of at least making our way down to the Europa League knockouts. Even though this is only the first match week, a win here would be big away from home. We do give possession away though. Inaki Williams tries to round Serafellini, and he's brought down from Serafellini, and that is a stone cold penalty. I don't know if we can blame the higher tempo for that one, and that is really disappointing. We've looked slightly better than these guys since we did get that equaliser, but we do concede a penalty. In fact, it was Mbuyamba who the penalty has gone against there. He picks up a yellow card, and it is Sunshea who looks to tuck this away. Serafellini goes the right way, but can't keep it out, and with 5 minutes left, we go 2-1 down. That feels a little bit harsh, but we can't afford mistakes like that at this level. It was a very silly penalty to give away there. Williams rounding the goalkeeper, and he got brought down, and they do tuck away the penalty. 2-1 late in this game. We will see if anything happens in the remaining minutes here, but we need to try and create something. We'll get the boys playing a bit more direct as well, just to see if that helps out alongside the higher tempo, something a little bit more similar to how we played with our wing play system last season. But that is a harsh result, it feels like. albeit we can't complain too much. Now they're right on top of us since scoring that penalty stats-wise. That big jump that they got late in XG. Apart from that, felt like it was a pretty even game, but that late penalty is costly, and we do lose our first Champions League group stage game here of this save. 2-1 away at Athletic Club. We were right in that game though, so not too disappointed if we don't give away that late penalty. That would have been a pretty good point, but unfortunately, things do not go our way. We give away a late penalty and lose the first game of the Champions League group stage. So what we'll do is we will come back shortly now that we do sit bottom of our Champions League group, of course, with the other game between Porto and Atlanta, which kicked off earlier, resulting in a draw. And we'll come back shortly for the Mulka-Bikram final against Leiknir and see if we can make it a domestic quadruple for the season. And TV coverage again for this Mulka-Bikram final, exactly the same lineup that did start in that Champions League game. They should be capable of putting a good result against the team from the division below us here in this Icelandic Cup final. There is what Leiknir Reykjavik do look like. No real familiar names there that you need to worry yourselves about. It's a team who we should definitely be beating. Hopefully we can get the job done here, and as I said before, make it a domestic quadruple for the season. 6 minutes gone, and it looks like we're going to have an early free kick here. A good chance for us to open the scoring. And Patrick Nygaard, what can he do? With his left foot, curves it off the upright. It comes crashing into the back of the goal, and that's exactly the start that we wanted here in this Icelandic Cup final. 1-0 Völsungur, and it's a bit of individual brilliance from Patrick Nygaard. The goalkeeper got nowhere near that. A little bit of help from the upright, but it's 1-0 Völsungur, nice and early. 38 minutes gone, second highlight of the game, a corner in our favour. Mbiyama gets on the end of it. It's parried out there by Musney in goal, and we do make it 2-0. Not too long before half-time, just the two highlights so far, and 2 goals in our favour this time. Fredrik Larsson with the goal. Good to see him bouncing back from his little bit of a poor performance against Athletic Club, where we took him off at half-time. 2-0 Völsungur, just shy of half-time in this Icelandic Cup final. And right on the brink of half-time, it is a free kick here to Leiknir Reykjavik. They try and get something going in this game. If they can pick a goal back here, it might make things a little bit interesting late on in this game. But I feel like with our defensive record in the league so far this season, we have conceded very few goals, having scored 2. I think we're in a pretty good position to be lifting this Icelandic Cup for the second time in this save, and we are on the attack yet again. Nygaard puts one in for Sviderski, far post. His header goes just over the bar, and that is half-time. A good half from us, it has to be said, despite not being too many highlights that we did see. We are 2-0 up, and everyone who is out there is playing fairly well, so we'll make no changes at half-time, and we should be bringing this home in the second half to lift the Icelandic Cup for the second time in the save. And we do have a restart highlight in this game, and we are kicking things off here to start off the second half, and already get in the opposition half through Patrick Nygaard, who opened the scoring nice and early with that wonderful free kick. And now it's Coutinho down our right-hand side. Nygaard puts one in far post for Larsson. Open header, but puts it wide. Good early chance in the second half, but it remains 2-0 Völsungur. 69 minutes gone. We do have our next highlight here in the second half. Coutinho off that throw from Nygaard. Bit of a 1-2. Puts it in for Nygaard. Squares it across the face of goal. And Fredrik Larsson gets his second goal of the game, and we are now 3-0 up with 20 minutes left. We are going to make a substitution just before we do see the replay of that goal, because Nicolucci Caviglia is down to a red heart, so Gavioli will come on for him. That'll be our first substitution in this game, but we should definitely now be winning this Icelandic Cup final off the back of making it 3-0 Nygaard. Bit of interchangeable play there between him and Coutinho. He squares that across the face of goal. Simple tap-in for Fredrik Larsson, and we do make it 3-0 late here in the final. And not too long off the back of our first substitution, time for us to make our second one. We do have Galtason now on a red heart. Artley Barkisson, who was the left back that we signed because we thought he was homegrown at club. He was not, but he is still homegrown in nation, was not registered for the Champions League, but he can fill in DM along with a number of other positions. Good versatile option on the bench for us. He will get a little bit of game time out there for the last 17 minutes. Still 3-0 up in this final. And 2 minutes later, time for us to make our last substitution. Another player that's gone down to a red heart this time. it is Swiderski. Not too many midfield options left on the bench, but Bjarkason apparently can play in the midfield, so we'll see what he can do, as a Mazzala might be useful, getting him a little bit of game time. Despite having that arm injury, he should be okay to play through it for 15 minutes, and hopefully we can see this out 3-0 up here in this final. Inside the last 10 minutes, it is a throw-in here for Leiknir Reykjavik as they try and get something going in this game. They're going to need a late onslaught to take this Icelandic Cup away from us today. They put that towards goal, and it's a header there from Malsi Martin. Serafellini got a good hand on that, but unfortunately just parried that straight into the left corner, and they do get on the score sheet here, do Leiknir Reykjavik, but it might still be a case of too little too late. Serafellini tried to keep that out, couldn't quite do enough, and it's 3-1, but only 8 minutes left in this cup final. And going forward a little bit further, we are now inside the last few minutes of injury time in this game. Leiknir Reykjavik not threatening us too much. We probably should have won this game a little bit more comfortably, considering the stature of us compared to this team from the second division, but it is a win, and we are going to be lifting the Icelandic Cup for the second time in this save, and it's a good bit of redemption after losing to HK in extra time of the final last season, where our schedule did not help us at that stage. We have had a very hectic recent schedule as well this time around, but because we wrapped up the league a lot earlier this season, we have been able to treat the league games a little bit less seriously than we usually would, and that means that our first team has had the chance to be pretty fit going in to this cup final, and as you would expect from us, we do get the job done 3-1 and lift the Icelandic Cup for the second time in this save. A good bounce back after losing away at Athletic Club in the Champions League. And back in the inbox off the back of that Icelandic Cup win, the second time that we have won it. The last time we did win it was a few years ago now, back in 2022. Of course, we did not take part in the competition in 2023. Not too sure if that's going to be the case again next year, now that we have won it and we are also in European football for next season. We will see what happens, losing the final last year to HK, as I said before, but getting them back this year, knocking them out fairly early in about the third round, I think it was, from memory, and we do go on to win this competition for the second time, and that means we have won the quadruple domestically, the big quadruple as well, with the League Cup, the Super Cup, the league title, and the Icelandic Cup. So that is a superb year here at Völsungur, one that will go down as one of the best in this save, no doubt. Hopefully, though, we can improve on it and get a European title to go alongside those in 1 year in the future. Potentially, we get a little bit of money for that win, albeit I think a lot of it is actually going out on bonus payouts, and indeed it is not too much of a profit made from that win there in the Mulkabikarum, but nice to win that after a few years where we couldn't win because we weren't in it, and last year losing out in the final, but this time we do get the job done, which is very nice, and that pretty much wraps up things domestically for the season. We do still have a few league games left. We will try and go through the season without dropping any points, but that is not going to be the focus now. We're just going to try and get our first team through to the second Champions League match, which is off the back of the last day of the season, and that is what is going to be coming up in tomorrow's episode. We will get through the rest of the league season in between now and then, see if we can go unbeaten. We did pick up a win in between the games in today's episode, a 2-0 win at Narts at home, thanks to first half goals to Wilson Isidore and Kurt Shaw. So the unbeaten season is still on, and looking at the teams that we do have left in the league, 5th, 12th, 10th and 9th, I think it's doable, even if we do put out a pretty rotated team for those games before we do get into those games coming up in tomorrow's episode, taking on Porto at home and Atalanta away in Italy. Points at home against Porto, I think, are going to be very important off the back of that first loss. We are going to need to make sure that we do get points in those home games, much like we did do in the Europa League group stage last season, if we want to try and get into the knockouts of that competition by at least finishing third in our group. But if you did enjoy today's episode, unfortunately losing our first Champions League group game at Athletic Club, but bouncing back with that win in the Icelandic Cup final, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. But until tomorrow, where we're taking on Porto and Atalanta in the Champions League, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.